Population by telling us that God is dead. And they tried to fool the black population by telling us that God is dead. Him not dead. No. Him not dead. Him not dead, 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 no. No, Garvey not dead. I is Garvey. Him not dead. Him not dead. Him not dead, no. See, spirit never dies, it resides in the hearts and minds of those who continue to see the vision. I said, spirit never dies, it resides in the hearts and minds of those who continue to see the vision. So if you believe in this liberation for which revolution is a way station and that Prophet Messiah gave us the key to this emancipation, then repeat this affirmation. Garvey lives, Messiah lives, Garvey lives, Messiah lives. Proudly we stand on the shoulders like soldiers marching in the footsteps of a legacy of a great one of a great movement who came in the name of universal improvement for the African people of the world. And as that legacy unfurled, it left the earth shaking, vibrating and earthquaking as we rose in the universal resounding accord of Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, with an impact so big and so broad it's still affecting the atmosphere today, which is why we say God we lives, Messiah lives. At the time we were bending and bowing, begging, scratching and scraping like niggas of a white man's making, behaving ungodlike our enemies clone, now in submission to their throne. Up Garvey rose and gave us backbone and said, rise you mighty race.
Greetings, this is Black Star Line 9 Time, and I'm your host, Baba Senghor, and I'm going to let Clyde check in with you. And we're going to get right. We got a real interesting show and a very special guest on tonight, dealing with an issue that's very close to not only Garveyites. It should be close to all Africans all around the world, but certainly here in these United States of snakes, we have to do something. It's absolutely crazy, and I know Clyde is over in Chi-Town right now, and I know it's hot over there. I know with this recent issue that has dropped with this murder of this police officer, him being charged with first-degree murder, which is almost unheard of, but people don't realize that the reason that happened was because of mobilization and pressure put on. But anyway, we're not going to do a lot on that tonight. But Clyde, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, PG. Thank you so much, and greetings to all the listeners for Black Star Line 9 Time here on HarambeeRadio.com. I'm glad to have you with us, and we've got a great show coming up this evening. We'll definitely get on the point of economics. And like you said, they're marching through the streets here in Chicago right now, as there was just some released video footage of this shooting of a black teenager. Actually happened a year ago, but through Freedom of Information Act, we were able to get that footage actually brought out to the fore for the first time. And they finally charged this police officer who just cold-bloodedly shot the young man 16, 17 times for really no reason at all. And so it just continues unabated around the country. This is just one of the latest instances. So didn't want to detract much, but we did definitely want to talk about that a bit as we get into the show this evening.
All right. So without any further ado, I want to welcome to the airways one of our family members. For certain, my sister Nataki. Are you there? Hello?
Yes, I'm here. Okay, thank you so much.
Good. Okay, well, I want to get right into it because, as you know, there's always a lot going on. But this won't be the only time. But I'm going to let you just open up and let us know what Let's Buy Black 365 represents, because I see it, and I hope all our listeners see it, as something that is cohesive with all the other movements that are taking place, because this will get us down the road a little further economically if we have enough people or a lot of people tag in. And certainly you will have enough time to explain what is Let's Buy Black 365, how people can check it out and get more specifics, and how people can get involved, because we're coming up on the so-called Black Friday, and a lot of people are calling for boycotts, and that's fine. But if everybody boycotts and shifts the paradigm, meaning changing their habits of buying with corporations who actually sponsor the murdering of our people all over the world. But anyway, without any further ado, this is like your opportunity to let folks know why they should get involved with this movement, Let's Buy Black 365.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. Very honored to be here. You are definitely someone I admire just for living this. And, one of the things we talk about all the time is, there's a difference between talking about it and doing it. And, inspiration of people who have lived and breathed this for not talking about ages, but sometimes longer than we've been alive. is just it's really meaningful. And I think that's a good segue into what Let's Buy Black 365 is about. It is a grassroots movement centered around Black economic empowerment. So it is a Black economic empowerment movement. And what that actually means or translates to is this is a movement to do exactly what you just talked about, to have that paradigm shift in terms of a shift in how we think about things. And it takes it beyond just how we're thinking to actually practical action. And the reason that's significant is, I share with people that, as we move in certain circles, there are a lot of us who talk about support Black businesses. And it's not even necessarily that people are being dishonest, with others, or even consciously dishonest with themselves. But when we actually go to spend money, where does the money go? And how much effort do we put into identifying a Black-owned business, institution, or enterprise that can get those dollars? Not only that, how often do we make excuses for, well, I didn't have time to find one, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a movement that says we need a fundamental shift in paradigm, and we need a vehicle and a mechanism to actually implement it. I'd like to quote Amos Wilson gave a lecture on psychology and economics, and he says, ladies and gentlemen, you must survive. You cannot survive giving your money to other people. Black people today only spend a nickel out of every dime with themselves. You cannot survive at that rate, ladies and gentlemen. And that goes to the heart of what we're talking about.
Yes, it is. So go ahead on and explain how people can get there. First of all, the website for folks that want to write that down right now, because you can kind of follow the conversation a lot better, because I see this as a resurgence of the movement that will help energize all the rest of the movement work that we need to do. And everybody's talking, but as my sister said, it's past talk. It's action time. And this is a Black-owned business, Harambe Radio, and all Black-owned businesses deserve to have the market base of Black folks, African people, buying with them, as well as we need to stop buying and spending in other places with other folks where those dollars go to harm us rather than to aid and assist us. I'm trying to keep it real simple, but I know there's so much for us to say, and I know Clyde is going to chime in a little bit, but you can go to www.letsbuyblack365.com. and you should go there, sign up, and check it out. But we're going to continue on with the conversation. I'm going to let my sister, Nataki, continue talking a little bit about what they have already put together. And I mean, that's key because there's a lot of people calling for boycotts. But unless we turn that boycott into some concrete, practical action with those dollars and go to black vendors, black entrepreneurs, black businesses, black media, and I know she's going to talk a little bit about that because we know the white media is owned by primarily about 6 or 7 corporations around the world, and that their job is to propagandize away from our self-reliance and self-determination and ourselves and really out of our minds. If you start looking at all of the fantasy, fake shows that they put on to program crazy stuff in our minds. But anyway, I'm not going to take no much more time. I want to get back to my sister, Nataki. Go ahead, sister.
No, that's right in line. That's right in line with what this is about, because you always talk about raising the consciousness, and
yes.
And we raise our consciousness through an understanding of who we are historically, what that means in the present, and how we're going to use that to create and shape our future.
Absolutely.
And when, we have resources in our community, we have bookstores, we have institutions that provide us with some of the information from scholars, our warrior scholars, like an Amos Wilson, like a Dr. Ben, like a Kamal Kamban. I'll throw that one in there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And when we look at that information, there's a disconnect in our community. We have some who don't know the information exists, and they're at the furthest end of the spectrum. Then we have some who know the information exists and refuse to learn it or accept it. Then we have a group that know the information exists and learn it for the sake of knowledge's sake only. And then there's a smaller group that learns the information for the purposes of practical application. And you will hear me talk about that a lot. How do we use information to elevate ourselves as a people? How do we use information to elevate ourselves individually, as a family, as a community, as a nation, as a race? And this is what the Let's Buy Black 365 movement is. It's bridging resources. We're talking about media. We're talking about other organizations that are focused on the elevation of our collective consciousness and the progression of our people in our communities. We're talking about bridging that and the business communities. Because if we don't know who we are, we're not going to understand the importance of Let's Buy Black, and we'll dismiss it. And if we don't, go ahead.
No, that's a great segue into my brother Clyde. Clyde is not only the president of a UNIA division and my co-host, he's also the ambassador of business development. So I know he's chopping at the bits to chime in here. So let me let him chime in here now, and then we'll get right back to you. Clyde, you've heard quite a bit, and what do you got to say to my sister?
I just love what I hear, and let me say first, welcome, and we really appreciate you taking some time to be on the show with us, Sister Nataki. Now, are you coming from the Carolinas, or are you someplace else in the States here?
Yes, I raised in Carolina and in the D.C., Maryland area now.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Well, I certainly appreciate your keen focus on what the issues are. We just took a contingent over to hear Dr. Claude Anderson talk about some of these same concepts, specifically that would involve aggregating our resources, so that we're looking at as Garvey said, a race-first mentality. You don't want to try and dilute all that you are doing by spreading your money around all the other different ethnicities. We want to make sure that we focus and concentrate those relatively scarce resources. He put up an example where he talked about post-slavery. The blacks owned less than 0.5% of 1% of all of the assets in this country. And at this point in time, 2015, it's still about 1.5% of the total assets in this country. And so if you look at it from that metric, we haven't made any gains. So what we have been doing in terms of assimilating and integrating is not giving us any forward movement. So it is imperative that we, concentrate those resources that we have, both financial as well as intellectual resources. Because, again, if we're out there making every other ethnicity rich, we'll never be able to get any traction for ourselves with respect to manufacturing, the large retail presence, and that sort of thing. So I really applaud the Let's Buy Black 365.com concept that you have. Can you tell us a little bit about how people will join and how businesses will join?
Yes, definitely. And if I could, before that, you just made a really, really important point about how we create the wealth and the significance of creating the wealth. And when we look at how a lot of discussions in our communities are only around going to school and getting a good job, or they're only around how within our income we're characterizing ourselves. So, what kind of car do I have? What kind of house do I have? And we know, I'm sure with this audience, we know that those are not symbols of wealth. Those are symbols of wasteful spending, if any, at best. They're not symbols of wealth.
Conspicuous consumption, as I think Thorsten Veblen called it. Yeah, conspicuous consumption.
And there was a report that just came out the other day. I think it was yesterday. There was a revised report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics with the U.S. Department of Labor, and they reported that black men working at full-time jobs were earning only 70.9% of the median income of white men, and black women's median income was about 82.2% of what white women are earning. And, we as a whole are only, if you look at both men and women, are only about 75%. We're earning at 75% of that rate. And what that means, what that translates into is this system is not designed for us as a people to even be on, what they call a level playing field. So you're already earning less, which means that you have to, if anybody has ever, been strapped for cash, you have to be very, very careful and very, very wise with how you spend that money. So if we look at this on a collective basis, we have to be very wise. We are earning less, and how do we use that money, whether we're working for ourselves or working for others, how do we use that money to create more wealth for ourselves than we create for others? Because as long as we're working for other people, we're creating wealth for them. How do we create more wealth for ourselves? And that's what Let's Buy Black 365 is about. It's about identifying the quality black-owned businesses in our communities that many of us don't even realize exist. It's about concerted, focused efforts to patronize those businesses. It's about those businesses making commitments to our community so that it comes full circle. And it's about individuals being able to make contributions to themselves and make contributions to the larger African-American community or diasporic community. So, I was going to share a quote from Ken Bridges, who many of you know was the co-founder of Mata. And
absolutely. Yes. Well, that's our big brother Ken in the whirlwind with Garvey, for sure. Go ahead on.
Right. There's a quote from him talking about reparations, and he talks about reparations is not just, what we're expecting or what we're deserved from the U.S. government. It's also what we give to ourselves. It's love of self and love of race, leading to significantly more giving and buying black in particular and in general, supporting pro-black initiatives.
All right.
Absolutely.
Strong statement.
As we come up on the Kwanzaa season here, where there's an added emphasis, I should say. We're trying to practice Kwanzaa 7 principles, 365 days. I know here in Chicago, we're planning a large Ujamaa program on the 29th here in Inglewood, which has been infamously portrayed. And what message can you take to the multiple Kwanzaa celebrations throughout the country that are going to be going on over the next 30 days until the first of the year?
Well, there are a couple of things. You mentioned there are several groups and organizations and individuals who have, taken on the cause of the boycott movement. And we are working with some of those groups, and we are in support of some of those groups because it's not just about redirecting dollars. It's definitely about identifying businesses that are hurting our communities and taking money out of their pockets. And with that concept, I'd like to share. We had one of our elder members. Excuse me. We had one of our elder members in talking about this very interesting phenomenon with the so-called patty pies, where we had people putting out and spending, $3 million as the number was, earlier in the week. We had people, it was $3 million spending with Walmart for these pies that supposedly are Patti LaBelle pies. And we shared with people this, which really gets us to the heart of your question about what we can do at Kwanzaa and the heart of this movement. But we said Walmart, a major corporation, openly finances the prison industrial complex. Over 1.8 billion Americans enslaved behind prison walls. The largest prison population in the world supporting slave labor. And it was over. And we said, well, what if the dollars spent at Walmart just for this pie alone, that $3 million went from black people, instead of going, from black people to Walmart, what if that went from black people to empower black businesses, which empower black communities? So, just thinking of that concept, that's what we're talking about, a paradigm shift. It's what we're talking about the economic shift. And one of the things that we're doing is provide information at some of these events where people can have discussions about the black economic, and then identify businesses in their area, and then take a pledge and make a personal commitment to shift how they spend and shift with whom they spend their money.
Let me go ahead, Ty.
Yes, I really like that. One of the things I found to be useful is to write down a list of those items that you're going to likely need over a 2-week to 30-day period, and try to map out where you can get that from a black manufacturer or black vendor, black store, It could be something as every day as a gasoline station. Here in Chicago, while there might have been 20 or 30 of them 20 years ago, now there are only 2. And so you figure out, okay, well, at what point am I going to be in that vicinity? So you don't end up making, wide swings in your daily travels, but more or less pre-planned things. I know that Sister Anderson, in their book, My Black Year, also, looked at, well, how do you work that in when you don't have just like majority stores on every corner? You might not have all of those services that you would normally use that are, within a 2 or 3 block radius of you. So I found that, again, pre-planning and getting your list together, and you can tick them off as you think about where you're going to be running on a daily basis or weekly basis.
So let me say this.
That's exactly where the movement comes in. Oh, I apologize.
No, go ahead.
That's exactly where this movement comes in. So, part of this being a grassroots movement is also creating the resource where people can say, what is near me? What is in my neighborhood? So it's, we're doing it in the style of traditional African style, in that, we're providing something, people are also contributing. And when I say we, this is everybody. So there are some of us who said, I want to be, I think we're all getting different titles. Some people call themselves activists, some people call themselves organizers, some are saying ambassadors, whatever the title is. Those of us who are passionate about this movement are helping behind the scenes, but you can go online right now, and I encourage everyone on the phone to go online either on your phone or on your computer to the website that Baba Senghor gave a little while ago, and go to Let's Buy Black 365. You go there. You can see a video. We were honored that George Frazier, who many of you know from having written the book, Success Runs in Our Race, has endorsed the movement, and I think where he talks about some of these concepts. You can watch some of the videos about what the movement is, but you can also in fact I'm looking at the site now. It says sick of just talk and no action. Be a part of the solution. Register and join now. Once you join, you go right to the top of the page and click on Add a Business. And you don't have to be an entrepreneur. You can be a business owner. Anybody and everyone is encouraged to put into the directory at least 10 Black-owned businesses that you know. And if many of us hopefully know maybe at least 30. But if you don't know, then that's an opportunity for you to look in your community and start to begin to build your network and start to have conversations with other people in the community. Do you know a Black-owned, a Black-owned florist, or whatever services that you're using? And I like to share the list. It's interesting. I was talking with a neighbor who said, I don't know any Black-owned businesses. And I always ask, do you know, have you asked? And I shared with her that, I've only been in the Maryland area for 3 years. And in that 3 years, I sought out Black-owned businesses so that virtually every service that I use is Black-owned. And so, just a brief list, that's everyone from my doctor, my dentist. I have a personal attorney and a business attorney. I have my carpet cleaner, exterminator, computer repair. I mean, the list goes on, mechanics. I get all of my health and bath and, body products, all of my paper products, all of my office supplies, all from Black-owned businesses. And many of those are local. Some are online, but if I can find that in a 3-year period in a town that, I virtually don't know, I didn't grow up here, then many of us who have been in a city for our entire lives definitely have a network of individuals where we can start to ask these questions. And once we ask the questions, we can go to letsbuyblack365.com and add these businesses, encourage others to add businesses, so we can really, take away the excuse, I just didn't know where they were.
Right.
Excellent.
That's excellent. Let me just say, Harambe itself is a black business, and we're about pulling together the collective black people's movement. Let's Buy Black 365. Brother Clyde, you got a lot of things going on. In fact, the sister that owns that black online mall in Chicago. All of us need to come pull together and be supportive of systems of this nature. And once we do that, what happens? What happens when we got a large listing? What does Let's Buy Black 365 do to help inform the community, if anything, at this point? That's
Yeah, I agree with that. And in fact, here in Chicago, we get a regular update of the black pages that Brother Eugene Delanato is always out in the public distributing so that people have at least a baseline to go to. I mean, there are hundreds of black businesses in there. And what we try to do is to add to that as we see there might be a deficient area. There might be some of the holistic medical personnel that so that again people can get exposed to where they can go to get some of the out of the mainstream type of treatments to deal with whatever health issues they have. As an example, you mentioned the Black Mall that Sister Cassiopeia Sledge runs. I was hoping that she could call in briefly today. She may still be able to do that. Also, we have got a representative from United American Progress Association that was started back in 1961 by Reverend Dr. Webb Evans, who just recently transitioned to ancestralhood, that has always had as his mantra, buy black. And that shouted from all the newspapers that he would work with to get out that propaganda, positive propaganda, as opposed to some of the negative stuff that you might see that the corporations spend billions on all the time to get you to buy in oversupply till you don't have anything to give. So, that is, I think, what is needed to change the mindset of people to not just go out and buy for buying's sake and just to have all this accumulation of mindless stuff and find out at the end of the day you didn't need any of that. And in fact, it distracts from what we should be looking at anyway. In terms of having to put all your time and energy into just that accumulation as opposed to working with your family, working with your community. You could have been doing something constructive with that time. And also, of course, directing some finances toward building our own businesses, manufacturing, retailing, wholesaling, etc.
So, I just want to go on record real quick because I want to hear more from you, Nataki, but I want to go on record as the President General of the UNIACL. We are striving to interface with everyone that's thinking positive in this day and time of going forward, and I want to just publicly endorse Let's Buy Black 365 as being a well thought out and a very, very important a vehicle for movement people. And all of these different groups that we're talking about, Nataki, certainly we are going to encourage to tie into the network. I've already signed up for the Let's Buy Black 365 because I've looked around and seen a lot of people saying things, and I like a lot of what I hear happening, but I saw this as a very structural way to pull together a lot of folks, just like Harambe is doing. So speak to that, because I think it's important for us to recognize that our young brothers and sisters have a great blackticity inside of them. And when they come up with creative ways and means of consolidating our resources, it's very important for those of us who have been thinking Buy Black and Race First for a long time to not only support the network, but to encourage all black businesses to get on the list, sign up, all individuals and everybody. So speak to us about that energy in particular, because that's so important that we consolidate.
Right. And, well, there are a couple of points in there. First, this is we've been pleasantly surprised and thankful that there are groups and indiviiduvals who have attempted and had some successes creating smaller databases and even sometimes larger databases of black-owned businesses. And in conversations with several of them, we had a weekly call last week. There was someone who joined the call who has 250 businesses that he compiled. And he'd been maintaining them himself and in sort of a static form. And, he participated in the call and was just like, this is amazing, and shared the resource with us so that, this can be available through Let's Buy Black 365. And, when I think of a couple of points, one, I did want to point out that a little bit different than other directories, this is a completely free resource. Businesses don't have to pay to join. As we said, anybody can add a business, whether it's your own or not. I think I mentioned there's a massage company. It's a fantastic company here locally that it actually is in-home massage. And I went to book an appointment with them and was like, oh, wow, let me tell them about Let's Buy Black 365 and let me put them in. And the reason that's significant, we realize that some people in our community have the race passion and will participate in this movement because of what it stands for. But we also have to realize and reach some of our people where they are, and some will only do something if there's some kind of financial or other incentive involved. And so to that point, there are incentives for people who, I think there's a contest for people who enter the most businesses, et cetera, because then you get at the people who are not doing it like I'm doing it. I want to help my people. I want people to know where these places are. Some people will say, hey, if I can get, a prize for sharing information, then I'll share it. And so, this is really all levels of our community. So it touches the business community. It touches, just individuals in general. And, you mentioned young people. This is really a movement for young people. And I say that because spirit of these students in college right now who are standing up and protesting and making very clear and thoughtful demands and seeking justice. The spirit coming from those young people is what we need right now. And one of the things that is a little heartbreaking for me is, and I've shared this before, you look at these institutions of higher learning and what these students are facing on campuses. What many of them don't realize is when they graduate and go out into the corporate world, they're facing the same issues they're protesting now on the corporate level. And it's up to our community, us as individuals, us as organizations, us through the media, us in every way possible to change this for future generations. And the way we change it is by fortifying our existing businesses with our individual capital so that when our students graduate, they have thriving, successful Black-owned businesses that are capable and ready to hire the best of the best in our community and provide them with jobs if they're not creating their own.
That is extremely important. Yeah, let me just say that's extremely important, and I want to put a plug in here for the CBPM, the Collective Black People's Movement, Brother Ross Marvin down in Atlanta. I will be speaking to him, and I know he's going to check this out, and certainly he has a database with a lot of businesses. And I want you to reiterate, though, Taki, I want you to reiterate the contest that you're talking about, because we want to encourage all the listeners to get busy interfacing with one another. Because if I come to Chicago, I want to know where all the black businesses are. If I go to New York, I want to know where all the black businesses are. If I can get a directory online before I go, and that's important. And that's important for us as older folks to set an example, because as you said, the greatest resource that we have are our youth. And if our youth are getting involved in interfacing with movements that are working and interfacing with each other, then certainly the paradigm shift will take place. And hopefully it'll take place quicker if those of us who have resources consolidate ourselves and reach out to those who may not have the resources so that they can become a part and partial of having access to the resources. So speak to that one more time, and I'm going to let Clyde finish up the interview. I'm not leaving, but I'm here listening because there's a lot being said.
Right. So, I mean, that point, that's why it is national, and I have someone with me on the line who I'd like to share a little bit about why she joined the movement. She's based in Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm sorry, there's some feedback. It's hard for me to hear.
I just want everybody that's on the line, would you please mute your phone if you're not in the discussion? Please mute your phone, because I do hear that feedback. Can I ask everybody on the line to mute their phones, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Nataki.
Okay. Yes, I was sharing that Denisha is on the line. She was recently started organizing, and I wanted her to speak to maybe the point about why this is significant and how it being a national directory and a movement where there are point people in states around the country. Just speak to why she joined and what she can do to the group. Sure.
Okay.
Hello. This is Nisha. Hi. Good evening. So it was very important for me to join the movement. I learned about the movement when I attended the Million Man March, the 20th anniversary. And at that point, I had already been discussing amongst other people, there has to be another way to outreach to our people versus just, in our household, and it just came along. It's very important because with it being a movement, you have to have certain people in place that can outreach to other individuals who may not have the access as we are right now on this phone call. So a lot of people who may not know about this phone call, they don't know what's going on. Whereas other people now, we can go back and we can put our feet to pavement and we can talk to one another and we can offer this information. And it's also important because, as Nataki has already mentioned and the brothers have already mentioned, as a movement, as collectively, as people, we can't make anything happen unless we move collectively as one. Mm-hmm. Just talking about it, just speaking about it, that's not enough because we all are in the same stance emotionally of what's going on in the world. So now we have to put into action, and the only way that we can do that is by collectively, again, moving together as one. And Let's Buy Black 365 is just a movement that collectively can help us move together and networking, again, with organizers, in place in different cities. That's collectively as a world, and it's not just city-based. And it's given everybody an opportunity. I'm sorry to cut you off, brother, but it's given everybody an opportunity who may not feel like they can reach the levels of the businesses who do have a website, or the businesses who do have corporations, or the businesses who are not of color. So it's given us the opportunity and the strength that we need to continue to build in ourselves, as our ancestors have always done for us. And that's what we need to do. We need to support each other in order to build each other so we can build as a community, as one.
That's it.
Okay.
Well said.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And you're in Boston, is that right?
I am, sir. Yes, I'm in Boston, Massachusetts.
Excellent, excellent. I think we might have another caller on the line out of Chicago. Is Brother Rashid Ansor on the line?
Peace and blessings. Yes, sir, I am. How you doing, Brother Clyde?
Greetings.
Hey, what's up, big brother? What's up, my brother?
Peace and blessings, Brother President General. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Good to hear your voice, brother.
Good to hear yours as well. Thank you.
I explained a little bit earlier about some of the things that the UAPA has been doing, and basically sending out the call on a very regular basis. And maybe you could explain a little further about what activities you're involved with respect to the African marketplaces on a regular basis, and doing the eat-ins and some of the other strategies and tactics that we use.
Yes, sir. Thank you again. I want to say to both of you all, thank you very much for allowing me and our organization to be able to be represented on this line. Much applause and praise, and I salute you and bow before your sister with your organization there. I heard you mentioning what you were doing. That's good. Please keep up the good work and keep up the good fight. To go into what we are the United Black American Progress Association. It's been an organization that's been around since 1951 to improve the economic condition of African Americans by getting more blacks to prepare and enter into the field of business, and to direct the savings and spending of African Americans where it would improve the economic conditions of where we live at currently. Basically, in a nutshell, what we do, we bring businesses on board and under our umbrella, as well as consumers. We allow them to network at our monthly meetings that we have. We hold a meeting once a month, every fourth Monday, as well as we do shop-ins, we do eat-ins to support the businesses that are currently under our umbrella, as well as to get other businesses to show them the buying power of what we are doing as an organization and that we can hold in this city. Just last night we had our meeting, and we sold from that Tuesday of last month, the last fourth Tuesday of last month, up till last night. We showed that we were able to spend collectively with about 40 people in a room a total of $10,000 in receipts to show that we spent money with black-owned businesses throughout a whole 30-day time frame. So we do that on a collective basis. We've been doing that for like the last 8 years. We always do that. We do a tally and a rally at the end of the year to show exactly what that is. But it's to show the buying power that we have here in Chicago. Sister Anderson, she actually spoke at one of our banquets, I believe back in 2009 or 2010, right when she actually, the year after she started that progress in that process. The state of where we are, we hear about the financial conditions that we have, the spending power that we have of $1.3 trillion. And as I spoke on that a little bit last night, that's just the spending power. Those are pennies. Those are money that we have to buy the necessity things. That's not all of the money that we make as black people, because all of that has to be cleared up. Those thoughts and ideas that some people may have. But we also do this to show that we can establish, as the sister stated, go back to these businesses and then educate them on the importance of being able to expand their businesses so that then we can able to offer jobs to those who go to college, as well as those who may not have graduated from college, as well as those who might have dropped out of high school for whatever purpose and reason that they might have. And then, of course, put it in their mindset that they need to go back to further their education and they can carry on in this process. So that's pretty much what we're doing. We got other ideas we're going to roll out next year. But that's where we at right now, what we have been doing.
Thank you very much, Brother Rashid. Appreciate it. So, yeah, those are just a few other ideas that certainly can be incorporated anywhere where we are. So please take any notes and incorporate that into what Let's Buy Black 365 is doing. Those eat-ins are very powerful. When you can come in with 30 people, 15 people, 10 people at one time into a restaurant that might have been serving one or two customers in a 2-hour period, it makes a difference in terms of getting them on the map, particularly when they're brand new. Getting them up and running. They don't have to spend a lot of money to advertise in mainstream radio and newspapers, but yet they can get on the map in their respective communities and make sure you start the traffic flow. So, like you said, if you're new in town, how do you know where everything is? We've added to the list of black-owned restaurants in Chicago, where we started off with about 100, and I know we've added about another 20 that first week it came out that we noticed that were omitted. It might have been new, just might have been in a little obscure placing. So again, we can all collectively help with this initiative.
This is Nataki. I'm sorry. I was just going to say that, I love what you're doing and definitely would like to talk with you offline. One of the things that we've shared in terms of how this organization has been structured, and I mentioned it early on in this call, there are groups that are doing things on local levels all over the country. Definitely several of the UNIH chapters have been active on an economic front for years. And what Let's Buy Black 365 seeks to do is to offer support to existing entities and institutions and groups and organizations that are doing things the right way. And there's a sister I'd like to connect you with who's also doing some on the ground efforts with communities to do that same thing. And that's part of the campaigns that we have coming out in January of next year, where this is not just it's a movement. And with movement, that means you have to have motion. So this is not just a static, web-based tool. What it is an online community. So once you join, you actually see that you can share information, you can share resources. Educational, economic, you can share empowering information with other people in this community and really begin to network. And then beyond the networking online, it's what you just talked about. It's taking it offline and having, practical application of spending our dollars in these businesses that we've identified. So I love what I'm hearing.
Yeah, all of this is all a part of the family coming back together again to be about self-reliance and self-determination. Clyde, I'm going to let you go ahead on and finish the interview with my sister. And if you want to exchange any more websites or phone numbers, please do.
And if I could interject just there, one thing I realized I did not point out, and it's really important, and it's something the brother just spoke to, is one of the components within this website that I think makes it very unique from other directories and Black economic empowerment movements is we have sometimes valid reasons, sometimes not valid reasons, but overall, we have a consumer confidence issue when it comes to patronizing black-owned businesses. And sometimes there's a bad taste in the business owner's mouth because sometimes we as individuals don't approach them the right way. And then sometimes there's a bad taste in the customer's mouth because they feel like they should get X from a business or didn't get, and, in terms of how this is structured, and talking about not just talking, being about action, we structured this so that it is action-oriented and solutions-oriented to that problem. And the vehicle that we're using to do that is once people can add and add businesses, they can also then search the businesses and post reviews and ratings about the businesses. Because a lot of times people say, well, I didn't want to use them because I didn't know anything about them. We are going to ask, or the businesses are asked to contact their clients, contact anybody, have them post a review so that people can see there are quality businesses. There are other people who are using these businesses. This is a resource that I can use, and it will begin to rebuild that consumer confidence. So that rating system and that review system, in conjunction with some of the offline things, I would love to be able to partner on a campaign like the one the brother was talking about, are really going to be, incredible tools for our people to really make this a cooperative economics in its simplest form.
Excellent.
Could I add to that as well? And I didn't mention it. Forgive me for this. Our founder's name was Dr. Will Evans. He was 101. He went on to the ancestors this past February, and he was 101 years old. So the philosophy that he had, he came up from the South. In Chicago, we have an area called the Bronzeville area, which was a conglomerate of nothing but black-owned business professionals during the time of the late teens all the way up to about the 1950s, 55, 56. So he was in that era. He owned businesses and things like that. And when he made his transition and then working and training our president, Minister Rahim Kassadin, those two individuals had the idea and the understanding that, as the sister stated, that we have to hold the businesses accountable, but we also have to hold the consumer accountable, because the mindset, as I stated, when he started this in 1961, he saw something on the horizon prior to the I Have a Dream speech. If the black businesses were starting to give themselves up to go work in downtown America or Chicago, especially, but America across the board, that was starting to take away from the money and the economics that we had. We had thriving black businesses and communities, I should say, in this city. We had Morgan Park. We had, again, Bronzeville, as well as other areas on the west side. But that slipped away over time, and we have to understand and we have to teach the consumer that was a mapped-out plan. And that's true, as the sister stated. We also have... It took Dr. Evans being an elder a little while to catch on to it, but we end up creating also our own as well, sister, database. And we call it the UAPAChicago.com is where we have a list of all our businesses that are a part of our network that we send people to locally, but we are looking to expand it. And I'm glad that the reason why I'm happy and said what I said in the beginning about you is because that philosophy that we had, I'm just so ecstatic to see that it's spreading without even knowing one another, but other individuals, other men, other women who are black and who are concerned about our culture and the existence of our children and our future are also taking on that banner, and that they're just holding on to it. We don't claim it. We're just glad. I'm very glad that you're doing it. So, yes, ma'am, if we need to trade information, please, I'll be happy to give you that. And, Clyde, I'm very glad also to be a part of Division 429 and to be able to be out here on the forefront. I don't know how fast it's reached the rest of the cities that you all may know about with the judgment coming down on this officer.
Yes. We got about 30 seconds, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Rashid, I appreciate your comments and you being a partner.
Yes. We got to do this again, man. So we're going to try in December and with the same guests, because we want to make sure that everybody understands Harambe is all about all of this and we're about pulling together. Go ahead, take us away, Clyde.
Sister Nataki, appreciate your time, and we're loving what you're doing. Sister Denisha, we appreciate you. Brother Rashid, thank you so much for coming on as well. PG, we can all raise our right fists in the air. One God, one aim,
Yes, one God,
one destiny.
Yes.
All right, good night.
Bless.
Good
Night.
night, bro.
Ladies first.
Black power.
Night.
Black power.